Every weekend since we graduated from college, we've been playing football, either Saturday or Sunday.
Oh, nice.
It's my favorite thing to do in the whole week. No sport in India is a profit-making endeavor. And no sport in India is given enough money. And the skew between cricket and all other sports is so deep and wide that it just becomes uneconomical or uninteresting for people. In Jan of 2014 or December 2013, my boss actually said we may shut down the India office because the fund is losing focus on India and so you may not have a job. Here I am bringing 40,000 rupees home, even that I'll lose.
The idea sparked to do something in Ayurveda somewhere at El Capitan.
No, I won't say it sparked at El Capitan. The idea for Ayurveda and doing something in Ayurveda sparked when I was 15 and a half. My dada was an Ayurvedic doctor. I grew up with juvenile bronchitis. I suffered from asthma. Family's been in Ayurveda for 150 years now. My dada cured me by the time I was 15 and a half, and I went to Ambani. In the first year, I became captain of the school cricket team. I wasn't a great cricketer, and we had a very small team. We only played 4 matches in the history of the school. But because I was the most sincere, they made me captain. But for me, that was a turning point where it said Ayurveda gave me back a part of my life and I wanted. Then times in college actually, seeing yoga being repackaged, yoga mats, yoga gyms, yoga apparel, Lululemon. So I remember calling my dada from campus and saying, it's amazing that yoga is global. It's not so amazing that Indian companies haven't taken yoga to the world. We can't let the same happen with Ayurveda. So the seed was sown then. There was always conversation about it in the family. My dad actually wanted to do what I did.
Oh, hello and namaste all. Welcome to the Diwali special of Damani Talks. This is episode 62. And today we've got an amazing guest who really displays the true grit and perseverance story behind the festival of Diwali. We have Arjun Vaidya, who comes from a 150-year-old lineage of an Ayurvedic brand, and now he converted that into a venture business, eventually leading to a successful exit. And today he's out there investing and leading the next generation of consumer startups based out of India. We're very excited to have you witness this conversation. So let me not be a blocker anymore. Over to you. I wish you all a very, very happy Diwali and a prosperous new year. Please be safe, be healthy, and see you on the other side. Hello and welcome to another episode of Damani Talks. So first questions for you, Arjun, is how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I did my favorite thing of the week last evening, which is football.
Nice.
Every weekend since we graduated from college, we've been playing football, either Saturday or Sunday.
Oh, nice.
There was a group of maybe 15, 17 of us from school. From 22 to 32, there are only 3 of us left. And now we play with a whole new group of younger people.
Where do you play?
We play at Cooperage.
Acha.
In Colaba in Bombay in the turf. But it's my favorite thing to do in the whole week. I change my entire week's schedule based on when football happens for the week.
Wow.
That's how much I love it.
Can you imagine India won the gold in the Asian Games in 1962?
Crazy.
And we were 4th in the Olympics in 1956.
I actually follow all Indian sport. I'm like very passionate about sport, and so I was watching the Olympic qualifiers right now where we lost. I was watching the Asia Cup where we lost all 3 games. But every time in India with football we have hope, and now with the ISL etc. we have a Croatian coach, all of that. But I think we're just not able to get it together.
I think it's sort of like cricket, right? I think we're getting there, right? At least the culture is there, a conversation is on.
You know, I think the problem with sport in India today, and I study sport because I watch all, right? While I am a crazy cricket fan, I watch all the cricket. I don't play cricket anymore because I think at our level of cricket, it's not a workout, it's a game. So I play football, I play squash, I watch all Indian sport, I watch badminton, I watch hockey. I think the challenge today, and we were talking just before we went on air as well with Kabaddi, right?
Yeah.
Other than Kabaddi, no sport in India is a profit-making endeavor. And no sport in India is given enough money. And the skew between cricket and all other sports is so deep and wide that it just becomes uneconomical or uninteresting for people, right? So, for example, if you talk about Olympic sport as well, right? Until Neeraj Chopra won the gold medal, nobody even knew what is javelin in India, right? Very few people knew what javelin is. And then after he won the gold, he was able to get 5-6 crore per endorsement, etc. All of that. And he keeps going. He's now a sort of national sports star and celebrity. Outside of Neeraj Chopra, can you name me one non-cricket sports person in India who is a star? Our Indian football captain, Sunil Chhetri, yes, we know him. Few of us know him. He gets some endorsements. Maybe PV Sindhu at some point got some endorsements. But that's where it stops, right? At some point, Sania Mirza got some endorsements for a short period of time. Mahesh Bhupati, Leander Pace got some star power and all of that. But I think that's the problem, right? A very telling video I saw was Sunil Chhetri going live on Instagram and telling people, hey, by the way, India's playing football tomorrow.
Yeah.
Come out and support us, watch us. Whether we lose or we win is fine. But come out and support us. And
Isn't there a stat that Sunil Chhetri is like the top international goal scorer or something?
Yes.
And
yes,
how many people actually know that?
And he's playing football at 39.
Yeah.
And he's still
fit.
He's still playing and he's still fit. But I think it's a mix of, it's a chicken and egg situation. Because if you get results, you get viewership. Yeah. But to get the results, you need the money and the viewership, right? If you don't have the money and the viewership, then how do you get the sort of money pumped into the sport? And because we have very short memory as Indian sports fans, right? Like Hardik Pandya today is the most vilified cricketer, but 1 year ago everyone loved him and now everybody is cheering for Virat, but at some point we vilified Virat and everybody forgot Dinesh Karthik. Now everybody's like, take him to the World Cup, etc. Our memory is very short, and so if you don't have results, then you're forgotten very quickly.
And I think that's very important to understand. We'll come back to this point because you invest very much in a consumer space, that India ends up being a number 1, 2, 3 market, right? In every category.
Yeah.
And we must remember that many of these sports, like I think the ISL is sort of picking up now.
No, it's not.
But it's not a big, I'm saying it's sort of, right? It's not even there in terms of what you would call a mainstream sport.
Yeah.
But they're trying. I think Kabaddi has been,
outstanding. What a case study.
We had our team go out for one of these junior Kabaddi matches, Elevate Sports India runs, and the matches are packed. And you know what I think why it is also because it's a contact sport. It's a short game.
The format.
Yeah. It's
the new format. The TV format they created was very interesting, right? As opposed to the old format with which Kabaddi was played.
And 20-minute slots. That's 20 minutes, 2 quarters, two halves done. That's it. And I think that really makes a big difference. Also, the way they brought in all these lights and stuff, the production value has been really high, but also made economic sense. Because, in a day, in one set, that as they would call it, or that set was set up, you can probably run 10, 12 matches. So your cost per match is very cheap.
Low. And one stadium, one location, unlike cricket and football, no maintenance to be done during it, no groundsman, no groundskeeper. It's all of these things make a difference.
And it also has a bit of, it has a bit of a gentlemanly feel to it, because in Kabaddi, there is a whole concept that if somebody claims I've been touched, they accept it. There's very few challenges that happen. It still has that relatively old world charm to it.
And see, at the end of the day, you have to think about the nuance of India as well, right? So it's a sport that we can be good at. Like, whatever we do, however hard we try, we're not going to be a top 10, top 20 rugby nation ever, right? We're just not built to be that good at rugby. And so, I've started playing a lot of this paddle and pickleball. I don't know if you've seen
I've heard
these sports, right? So I obviously enjoy playing the sport. I'm a squash player for 20 years, so I like playing the sports. But someone asked me, you keep playing all these sports and all, what's the business opportunity from pickleball in India? And I was like, it's a massive business opportunity because pickleball is the same size as a badminton court. We have lots of badminton courts in India. It's 1/3 the space of a tennis court. It's a 3 lakh capex to make a court from scratch or just put a mat on a badminton court and bring the net down. And by the way, anyone from the age of 10 to 70 can play. It's not hard and easy, it's easy to play. And India as a country, at least I feel, is a walking nation. We are not a running nation, right? Everybody is, Decathlon numbers show this. Decathlon will do FY24 some 4.5 to 5,000 CR. It's not a small business anymore, right? It's a business to take notice of now. And what is Decathlon? Decathlon is your first pair of running shoes, your first pair of socks, your first pair of workout shorts, your first workout tee, your first squash racket. It's not the most expensive, but in 250 rupees you get a workout tee and you take that for a morning walk. Then from there you graduate, and now I'm a marathon runner, so I buy Brooks shoes and they cost 12,000-15,000 rupees for a pair of shoes. But the first pair of running shoes will be 2,500 bucks. You try it, right? 20% of their sales is bikes, cycles. Your first cycle.
And also I think the breadth of
everything's
breadth
available.
of offering, one space, full family can go, do the shopping, come out, you always leave with something. Every time I go to that shop, I leave with something, which I may or may not need, but I leave with something.
So coming to your journey, Arjun, interestingly, both of us cathedralites.
Yes.
Right? And after that, you went to Dhirubhai, and then you went to Brown University, did your BA in International Relations, Affairs and Economics, and you were also part of Omicron, Delta, Epsilon. Both of us were part of it. Very interesting to finally meet somebody else, at least.
Who knows what Omicron,
Yeah,
Delta, Epsilon is?
And we talked about a bunch of things you did in the US. But interestingly, right after you graduated from Brown, you didn't stay back. You came back to India. Why was that?
Yeah, honestly, I knew a conscious decision to come back to India. So look, I knew when I went to the US as well that long term I would be back in India for two reasons. One, I'm very patriotic, and so I feel like even if I'm never going to get into the non-profit service government sector, I don't see myself ever being in that space. But even if I'm in the for-profit space, I feel like we have opportunity that other people in our country don't have, right? We have exposure, we have access to knowledge, we have access to information, access to foreign education, which less than 1% of our country has. So it's our job to come back and add some value to the economy. It may not be in the more cliched service side, and that's not for me, and I'm very honest and open about it. But that was one reason. The second reason was honestly like, I saw the writing on the wall as well, right? That this is where the opportunity is. If you spend time in developed markets, you realize that all the problems are solved or almost solved, right? But here in India, there's so much left to be solved, to be done. And I think there was one more realization which happened because I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dada was in some way, he was a doctor, but in some way he ran his own clinic and his own business. My dad runs his own business as well. And I realized the nuance of doing business in India, the way to do business in India is very different from anywhere else in the world, right? So my dad used to keep saying, if you go for 4 years to the US, and I went to Brown and it was the best 4 years of my life. Outstanding experience, great 4 years, had the best time of my life, made the best friends, studied a little bit, but had great out of class experiences as well. And so he said, you're going to have those 4 years in the US. You're going to love your time there. Then you're going to work 2-3 years in the US. Then you're going to do an MBA for 2 years. You come back to India 8 years later, 9 years later, you're an NRI boss. You are going to take a lot of time to adjust. So why waste those 9 years? Come back after 4 years and actually start work, right? And so I feel like a lot of my friends at that time stayed back in the US 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever that time period is. But 90% of them are back now.
I see.
It was a number like 80% or 75% stayed. But now most of those guys have come back to India across from 2013 when I came back to 14, 15, 16 to now, right? Over various waves, people came back. There was visa issues in the US. Those people moved to the UK. There was visa issues in the UK. Those people came back to India, etc. So
they didn't try Canada.
Through all those waves, whoever had to come back, came back. Now, when they came back, they had to figure out how it was to live in India again. Right. One of my brother-in-laws actually came back to India after 12, 13 years. And it gets to you, right? The pollution, the traffic, the
slowness, I think, in
many
things.
Chaos. For me, there's excitement in all of this. Like, I am unperturbed by traffic. I am unperturbed by noise outside my house. Like, there is metro work going on outside my house. But I'm immune to that noise. I don't even hear. No, I don't even hear the noise anymore. Some people come to me and say like, how do you manage? How does your kid manage with all this noise? I'm unperturbed. I don't care. People are like, you're a runner. Where do you run? I'm like, on the road, on the street, outside. What about the pollution? What about the heat? No, I'm unperturbed, right? So I think that head start I had onto living in India, doing business in India, understanding the way like, when I was working in private equity after I finished college and then I started my own company, I remember going to my dad like 3 months and saying, hey, I started this company and all, but I can't launch my product. He's like, why, what happened? I'm like, I don't have plastic bottles. I have my product ready, I have my capsules ready, but no one's giving me plastic bottles. He's like, what do you mean, just call them? I'm like, yeah, I went to an India Mart, I found 10 vendors, I emailed all them, nobody's replying to me, what do I do? He said, dude, pick up the phone, call them, send them a WhatsApp, and if it doesn't work, show up at the office. And I was like, no, come on. This is not real, right? Like, this doesn't work. He's like, chal, I'll do it for you. He said, give me the vendor's number from India Mart. He called the vendor at 8 p.m. and said, मैं कल आ रहा हूँ, bottle चाहिए. And he took me there to the bottle vendor. We sat down, then we closed the deal there. And that is when I realized actually that traditional way of what we did in the West and what we did in our
Email
final
se kaam ho
job,
jayega.
email bhejo, aa jayega reply, 3 घंटे में चलाओ. No. So in Dr. Vedas actually there was a thing, if someone came to me and said, yeah, I followed up with an email and nothing's happening, not acceptable. You followed up with an email, written a WhatsApp, written to the guy on LinkedIn, call the guy and send him an SMS, then it's a follow-up. Otherwise, it's not counted as a
All
follow-up.
5 at the same time.
All five means it's completed and the person is
in
not
fact, I
responding.
just believe today following up on email is
It's
just
not relevant.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
relevant.
there is just so much spam out there. I doubt anybody.
You know, now I feel like WhatsApp is also spam.
Definitely,
I can't reply.
Well,
I can't
LinkedIn also has become like that.
So what to do now?
Yeah, call.
Call.
Back to calling. Even there's a lot of spam on that.
You know, some people SMS me now. I can't write to you. I can't get through your WhatsApp. It's probably flooded. Drop me an SMS. And I check because all the bank
Correct.
things
That's
come
so
on
right.
SMS. So I now SMS.
But you know, I also feel, and to your example, because I got back to India in 2011-12, right? And this was before the current government and the gradual opening up of or ease of business that has happened. But I believe in 2010 to 14, we were in a bit of a situation where, you know, the 1991 India was catching up with the India of 2010.
Correct.
Right? And if you survive that period, you actually appreciate everything that is going on today.
Correct.
Because you're like, you have no idea what this was like.
Yeah. So you saw much more of it. I started my first job in August 2013. By December 2013, India was probably at its worst, right?
Yeah.
We had scam after scam. The rupee was devaluing. It's now even worse than it was then. But the rupee was going through lots of issues. And international sentiment to India was very, very poor, right? Now, I worked in a global private equity fund with foreign capital. I remember at that time, in Jan of 2014 or December 2013, my boss actually said we may shut down the India office because the fund is losing focus on India. And so you may not have a job. And for no fault of mine, I was about to or may have lost my livelihood, right? And I loved my job. I absolutely loved it. I was a 21-and-a-half-year-old kid working in private equity. Dream job for me. In the consumer space, in the branded space for a very, very reputed fund.
Yep.
And then I think with that sort of government changed and a lot of new things happened in 2014.
And it took some time. I don't think, 14 obviously was a pivotal year, right? Because you suddenly had a single party majority.
But I think the hype that came with it allowed everything to change. So at least after the government changed, I think it was like April, May 2014, then it was like, okay, we are staying put in India and we are working, and I was like, I have my job here, right? But that feeling for someone who has moved back to India from the US, parents have funded a very expensive education, right? Because at that time it was completely
Yeah.
we had no income, right? Straight from
And there
school.
was no education loans for foreign.
There were roundabout ways to get it, but we didn't. I'm fortunate enough that my parents paid for my education. And then I didn't, actually, because I was in private equity and I didn't study finance undergrad, I didn't get a job. I got a 40,000 rupee internship. And then I'm like, boss, my parents spent so much money on my education. I came back and took this 6-month internship, hoping and praying that it converts to a full-time job. They've spent whatever, X hundreds of thousands of dollars on my education. Here I am bringing 40,000 rupees home, even that I'll lose. And that feeling of fear was something I've seen. And so while we hear a lot of people who say there's lots wrong with our country, and I'm not saying that we are a perfect, we are a finished product, right?
Correct.
Still a work in progress. But after seeing that time, you really appreciate what we see around us today, right?
And exactly my point, right? I think in many ways, the people that are coming back today, and we've just hired a few people that are joining us from the US, and I've already started shipping them books saying, listen, before you get here, read the Companies Act. Before you get here, understand the AIF Act, understand all the changes that have happened. So you start understanding that this is not a finished product, like you say, and that you're not going to come here and set the world ablaze right away. There's going to be a huge and a steep learning curve between the US and UK markets in India. And it's not going to be emails and founders or even legal professionals being reasonable, because that's not what they're used to. They're not used to the kind of culture you come from. So you have to get used to what it takes to do business in India, but we'll get there.
But I'll tell you, I had a very close friend of mine, Lucas Davies. He went to Brown with me undergrad. He's actually His dad worked for one of the UN agencies, I think it was the World Food Program, and so he's born in Delhi. He's a half Danish, half American guy who grew up in Africa. But parents are American, so he was pretty American when we were in college at least. And then he got a job at Mahindra after college. And he spent 2013 to 16 in India. And then eventually he went back to the US, worked for a fund, did his MBA, etc. All of that. And was working in Goldman in New York. And we had a friend's wedding in January in Bangalore from college. And so he came down for the wedding as well. And he was back in Bombay, I think after my wedding in 2018. So it's been for him 5 years. And he said, the city is the same. The places are the same or similar. But I saw two massive changes. There is massive infrastructure and construction. And Bombay has a skyline. And it truly has a skyline, right? We've lived here all our lives, and so it just sprung up around us. But sometimes when you look out your window, like, is this my city? Like, is this where I live?
If you're driving back on Bandra Worli ceiling, you can see the
Atal Setu.
Yeah.
Atal Setu. If you come back to Bombay via Atal Setu, you see the skyline, right? You're like, wow. And then he said one very interesting thing. He said, there is so much, and he was here for 2 nights before we went to Bangalore. He said, there is so much opportunity I see in this place. You can literally shake this city and money will come out of it. And that is really, while there is lots of chaos, I think navigating the chaos and finding the calm as well as the opportunity in the chaos, that's the secret sauce to most successful people in India. Because if everything is set and everything is complete, then what else is there to do?
And then you're going to get subpar returns, right?
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
And so El Catetan is where you spent almost two and a half years. 2.5 years, right? And the idea sparked to do something in Ayurveda somewhere at El Catetan.
No, I won't say it sparked at El Catetan. The idea for Ayurveda and doing something in Ayurveda sparked when I was 15 and a half. So, my dada was an Ayurvedic doctor. I grew up with juvenile bronchitis. I suffered from asthma. Family's been in Ayurveda for 150 years now. Everyone but my dad is an Ayurvedic doctor, all generations before.
Really?
So, I'm the 6th generation Ayurveda in my family. And our last name, actually, Vaidya means Ayurvedic doctor. So, we are Mehtas.
I see.
Very few people know we are also Gujarati. My great-grandfather changed last name in the 20s for profession. Vaidya, Ayurvedic doctor. I grew up with juvenile bronchitis. I suffered a lot. And I couldn't do a lot of things that normal kids do, right? So, Coke, Limca, Fanta, Sprite, ice cream, not allowed. Never had.
Achha.
I got a taste for ice cream when I was 13 years old, and I have no taste for Coke, Limca, Fanta, Sprite, because by the time I got to 13 also, my parents were like, there is no value only in trying. Chhod de. Like, there's no point. And I'm thankful that I have no taste for aerated drinks, because I've never had a taste for aerated drinks. So, my dada got me on Ayurvedic treatment, and I think outside of this food, also cricket and football I wasn't allowed to play. Because the cricket grounds and football grounds we have in Bombay, there's no grass.
Correct.
It's only mud and dust, right? And that was
Lots
very
of
bad.
Dust, yeah.
Very bad for an asthmatic. So I was playing golf and squash. And a kid with a hand-eye coordination problem at age 7 trying to hit a golf ball is like a bad idea, right? So my dada cured me by the time I was 15 and a half, and I went to Ambani. In the first year, I became captain of the school cricket team. I wasn't a great cricketer, and we had a very small team. We only played 4 matches in the history of the school. But because I was the most sincere, they made me captain. But for me, that was a turning point where it said Ayurveda gave me back a part of my life and I wanted. Wow. Then times in college actually, seeing yoga being repackaged, yoga mats, yoga gyms, yoga apparel, Lululemon, Whole Foods, all of these things, right? I said, hey, there is something here that's very interesting.
Even Bikram Yoga was quite big, right?
Bikram Yoga was big, and just like I was enamored by Lululemon.
Achha.
$8 billion company building off modernizing what India had traditionally, but we have nothing to do with the value there, right? Like no Indian had any value creation from Lululemon. It was an American company that repackaged what we had. So I remember calling my dada from campus and saying, it's amazing that yoga is global. It's not so amazing that Indian companies haven't taken yoga to the world. We can't let the same happen with Ayurveda. So the seed was sown then. There was always conversation about it in the family. My dad actually wanted to do what I did.
Achha.
But my dada was a doctor, and doctors and businessmen don't see eye to eye. So my dad tried to do offline distribution of my dada's products, and he lost money for the first time because he did a TV ad on DD in the late 80s, and he lost money, and he's like, doctors don't lose money, I'm not doing this business thing that you are saying. So actually the turning point for me was my dada's passing. The moment he passed, I said, I made him a promise. I'm 24 and a half years old. The least I can do is give it a shot. And at the time he passed, actually, we had a large IP of formulations, like 100 plus proprietary Ayurvedic formulations. A very large Ayurvedic company, very well-known company, offered a friend of my granddad who came to my dad, and my dad said, if someone does something with it, it's my older son, so talk to him. And at that time in 2016 or 15, 2016, they offered me 6 crore cash.
2016.
2016, 6 crore cash for the formulations. We'll buy all the IP from you, transfer all the knowledge, transfer all the technology, and thank you. We don't want you.
The brand name stays with you though.
Brand name Thai nahi.
Acha, Thai nahi. Okay.
So Dr. Vaidya's was my dada's name, but he ran a clinic under the name Dr. Vaidya. So brand ही नहीं था, distribution नहीं था, कुछ नहीं था.
Got it.
They didn't want the brand name either. I mean, there was no brand name, right? It was a doctor who had some 3,000, 4,000 patient database. And that was Dr. Vaidya. And then I said, if this is being offered to me, worst case, 1 साल बाद यही मिलेगा. And it's not bad money. It's decent money.
2016 is good money.
And I was like 24 and a half, 25 years old. For me, it was like, boss, I hit the jackpot here. But I said, if this is the money being offered, clearly there's some value here that maybe I have to go and unlock and see. And so, worst case, I'll get this value after 1-2 years. Maybe half of the value.
Correct.
Maybe 3/4 of the value. Kuch to milega. I mean, there's some value in these formulations, right? That they can't go out and reverse engineer in one day. But I made my dada a promise. I want to take forward his legacy. If it skips my generation, it's dead.
Correct.
And it's a rich legacy that'll die. I am patriotic. I care for what our country has to offer. Let's give it a shot. And that was the turning point for Dr. Vaidya's.
Wow. And when did you get the seed capital to start?
So my granddad operated, he was a very famous doctor who had like 350, 400 patients a day coming to his clinic. He had 12,000 patients a month trying to buy a post. And so he had reserves in the company.
Acha.
He had created a private limited company to run his clinic
Okay.
practice and a manufacturing facility which was Ayush approved. Pre-Ayush was FDA, eventually Ayush approved. So
And where was the factory?
Silvassa.
Acha.
So it was quasi small industrial clinic, right?
Got it.
Doctor with clinic with a quasi setup that looked like
Let's call
or
it
could-
niche in VC trans.
It
Niche setup.
means it in some way, shape or form could look like a FMCG or a products company, but not yet there, right? Like formulations the, thoda manufacturing tha, factory mein 6-8 log the. That was the setup I inherited. But there was 4 CR of reserves in the company. And so my dad said that this is the capital that your dada has left behind for you symbolically. Whatever he has kept in the company. Now, he may have taken out money over the years from the company, he may have dividended out, salary, whatever he may have done, right? But whatever is notionally left seems to have been left for the future of this company. So that is what we are giving you. 4 crores is a lot of money, but never come back to me for a rupee more than this. This is what's left for you, this is your destiny. Start with this, put it in fixed deposit, earn interest, work with that, whatever it is. This capital is the only capital we are giving you.
Okay.
So 4 crore, a lot of capital that prevented the seed round dilution, which today maybe 20-25%. At that time, you would raise 4 crore for a early stage company, you give 40%, 50% of your company away, right? So it allowed me to
So what's the first thing you did once you decided, okay, I'm going to start, and you quit L-Catet and you started this in something like October of 2016.
Yeah, so I quit early 2016. Officially started October 2016, but by the summer of 2016, we were ideating, planning. Or earlier we were ideating, planning, but I started work on. First thing I started doing was I said, okay, I've inherited these formulations. Let me go and figure out what these formulations are.
Got it.
My dada, when I was a kid, used to keep telling me, Aaj factory. Dada used to go every Saturday to factory. He took a 6 a.m. train from Mumbai Central to go to Silvassa. I think a 10, 12, 13-year-old kid is not waking up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. It's not happening, right? Never been to the factory in my life.
Oh, wow.
So it was rediscovering all that my dada had left behind. I went to the clinic. I spent time there. I met all his team. I went to this factory which had my photos all over. Because at some subliminal part of my dada knew that at some point I'll take this on.
Okay.
And it was a surreal feeling, right? Dada's passed 6 months back. I go to this factory. In a mezzanine floor, he has a small office desk. And in that near that office desk is just photos of me. Meaning like, it felt like a little bit eerie and creepy also, that in some way, like, he actually knew that I would do this, right? And one very interesting incident happened. So, like, Dr. Vaidya's was clearly not a famous company in 16 and 17. But by 21, when we sold the business, it was quite a famous business. So that time I used to post on LinkedIn. In 2020, I started posting on LinkedIn. 2021, I posted a story about my granddad on LinkedIn and what he taught me and why I took forward his legacy and what we did with it, etc. All of that. I got a DM from a senior finance leader at Tata saying, "You don't know me. I was at your granddad's funeral. I know everything about you, boss." And he sent me clippings of my Dada's obituary in Times of India that honestly my family doesn't have. We don't have that exact newspaper ka cutting. But my Dada had such a deep impact in this guy's life that he had kept the cutting. He had kept photos of my Dada and he told me, I got on a call with him, I said, "Sir, I want to talk to you." He told me, "I know everything about you. I know you went abroad to study. I know you're coming back. I know that you went to this school. I know you're a good student. I know you like cricket." Your Dada said everything about you to us.
Wow.
And it was like, through my time running Dr. Vaidya, this was very, very surreal feeling when we ran a clinic still, right? My Dada's legacy was one clinic. We ran that one clinic still. And so you would see patients coming from all over the country saying, "Hey, my grandfather also used to go to your great grandfather. My dad used to go to your Dada. I'm here now seeing your doctor." At my Dada's funeral, we saw hundreds of people who we had never met in our lives, who this man had a deep impact on. He didn't charge for consultation. So he was very clear, you only pay me for the medicine that you buy from my clinic, but didn't charge for consultation because income status should not prevent you from coming to the clinic. So we used to go to this, we cut our hair still at this place in Breach Candy called Precious. Which even today is 250 rupees a haircut. Every barber from that establishment has gone to my Dada for treatment. My Dada was a big golfer at Wellington Club. I don't play golf at all. I go once in a while. My dad also goes once in a while to remember my Dada. Every caddy knows us there. Because every caddy got free treatment from my Dada at Wellington Club. And so every year on his birthday, we go and play a round of golf. We feed all the caddies and all. But so I think like through that time period, I met so many people who said so many stories about my Dada. And while he was not alive, it felt like he was around, and every time, I remember one time we were in due diligence for our first round of capital, our only round of capital that we raised. And that time we started asking you for like, obviously historical paperwork of the company, right? And this company, while it was Arjun Vaidya's 2-year-old startup, 2.5-year-old startup, the company was incorporated in 1981.
Wow.
And so you could pull out paperwork from 1981 and like, they were like, your factory ka purchase ka, we owned the factory. Factory ka purchase ka paper nikalo. I'm like, okay, I'll find it. Calling my dad, factory purchase paper, Silvassa, where? Where is it? He said, "I don't know, but if I'm to think like my dad, go to your Dadi's room. There are some old files he had left. Open that cupboard and see in those old files." I opened that cupboard. There was a bag, a plastic bag. I opened that plastic bag. There was that time we used to laminate papers. There was a handwritten paper laminated with an index written in my Dada's handwriting of every single file and every single numbered files.
Wow.
With every single file number and what documents will be in that file. And I found all the documents for my DD there. All.
About
like actually goosebumps right now saying this, right? Because I was like, boss, I'm screwed. I mean, it's over, right? Dad has no clue where this is. Dad has come to the factory thrice since I started this company. How will you find him? I'm calling up the factory manager. He's like, "Sir, हमें कैसे पता है आपका factory का paper कहाँ है?" Like, we don't even know where it is.
Incredible compared to how tough it takes certain entrepreneurs these days to put together a due diligence docket.
It was like so easy to find all my paperwork, I was like struggling to put together. But whatever he had was beautifully put together. Even think about it, Anirudh, we owned 105 FDA licenses for Ayurvedic medicine and 80 trademarks. 80 trademarks. I had all the papers for all the trademarks. All. I did not miss. They did a trademark due diligence, a IP due diligence on our company. Not even one trademark missed. Not even one. Sab kuch tha. And in like old school paper, jo bhi claim aaya tha, notice aaya tha, everything I found. Everything.
And so when you started Dr. Vaidya's, now you were going to make it from a clinic into a proper brand. That was the intent, right? The scale. What was the problem you were trying to solve?
Look, I think my experience in the US said that Ayurveda needed to be new age, right? And need to be repackaged and rebranded to appeal to modern consumers. Our parents and grandparents, if you ask them what is the biggest component of Chyawanprash, they'll tell us it's amla. If you ask them what goes into an Ayurvedic hair oil, they'll say bring out. We don't know that.
Right.
And so, though I come from an Ayurvedic family, the modern consumer has lost touch with this Ayurveda. And so, my job was to take ancient science of Ayurveda, repackage and rebrand to appeal to modern consumers. And so, actually, someone asked me the other day, how was the journey of doing R&D at Dr. Vaidya's? I said, amazing, I didn't do a thing. I did zero R&D. I only changed the form factor of one product. We had Chyawanprash capsules. I moved them from capsules to toffees for kids. I kept the capsules, I moved them to toffees for kids. I did not touch a single formulation. I just repackaged, rebranded and created a new story towards all the amazing IP my Dada left me.
And what was the story?
The story was that Ayurveda looked boring, old style and poorly packaged. It seemed like something that wouldn't come into your life.
Correct.
But hey, if you are a 25-year-old going out on a Friday night and you need to be functional on a Saturday morning, I have a hangover cure for you. And if you're a kid who hates having Chyawanprash, I'll give it in a toffee form, etc., etc., etc. Like that, we had tens of hundreds of products that we launched in our journey.
And then you scale that into also e-commerce? Is that one something?
So we went offline,
Acha.
failed miserably. Then I convinced my girlfriend, who was in the founding team at Nykaa, to join me because I said, offline to nahi hoga. She said, why don't you try online? I said, I don't know online as well as you do. Come join. We got engaged summer of 2017. She joined the business. November 2017, we decided we are not good enough at offline, shut down that business and started online. And Dr. Vaidya's, till I sold the business... Was there a precursor
that you had to get engaged before she could work?
No.
Okay.
No. I think it was not a precursor. I think it was just the way things happened. We got engaged and then at the time we got engaged, so she had worked at Nykaa in the founding team and she moved to impact investing.
Acha.
And then she wanted to do something. But she didn't have the guts to be an entrepreneur herself. She wanted to do a salad idea at that time, which in hindsight could have been a good idea. So then my dad needed some help, her dad needed some help, and I needed some help. And so everybody was trying to woo her to join their business. But then eventually she chose Dr. Vaidya's. And I think that was when we went online was the turning point of the company. From there we did quite well.
So now obviously 2017, still online was not deep penetrative. I think this was, GST was 18, right?
Yeah.
And so you're talking pre-GST days, shipping things between two states, better to ship it to Dubai and ship it back.
Correct.
Right? And you're talking about Geo sort of just... Geo is also not big by then, right? It was sort of taking off.
2017 November we launched. We didn't hit fire until 2018. So I think the good part about the market being nascent was we had time to figure things out. And because we had time to figure things out, it took us 1 year to learn online business. Shopify, WooCommerce, Google advertising, Facebook advertising, warehousing, logistics, customer service, all of those nuts and bolts of e-commerce business, right? And then we hit 50 orders a day in November 2018.
Okay.
By this time, GST was implemented. By this time, players like Shiprocket existed. By this time, there was e-commerce deliveries happening in the Northeast, in Kashmir, etc., all of that. Because our focus or our customer base was 82% outside top 10 cities. And so we needed to have logistics available into these. We hit 16,500 pin codes at Dr. Vaidya's. We needed to have logistics available. And so November 2018 was, I think, the turning point for us, because that's when I started saying, ki, yaar, like as an entrepreneur, you always dream and believe in your eternal optimism, etc., all of that. I started seeing that actually there's a business here.
Okay.
50 orders a day, single branded website. Today, everyone will say 50 orders a day, what's the big deal? But November 2018, 50 orders a day, single brand Ayurvedic website, big deal. Like, I remember...
And what was sort of the average order value that you were...
It was 800 rupees.
That's a lot.
So 40,000 rupees. Like, I remember checking out Google Analytics one day and, you know, my friend was like, oh, so how's it going? How are you doing? And I was like, we were out at dinner and at 10 p.m. I showed him 35,000 rupees in sales for the day. And I was like over the moon, right? 35K in the day. It's like insane. But I also started smelling business, right? I started smelling that now this is not just a figment of my imagination, of Trisha's imagination. This is a business here. We can actually scale from here. And the great part about digital businesses if you have established what at that time I believe was product market fit, which was is 50 orders a day, you can move from gear 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and do the same thing at a larger scale, 1x, 2x, 3x, 5x scale. And so the journey from there was, the journey to there was the hardest, 0 to 50 orders. We got to 5,000 orders a day in 2 years from there.
So by
Just on our
2020.
website,
Wow.
2020 end.
And were you selling through any of these
We
Amazon?
sold through the platforms as well, but we consciously built our business as a website first business. Because Ayurvedic treatment is longer, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 9 months sometimes. And so Indian customers were not willing to trust me for 3 months at one time. Not the American customers.
Correct.
If you give 90 capsules, they'll give you at a 20% discount, 30% discount, they'll buy the 90 capsule pack. Indian customers buying the 30 capsule pack. At best, the 60 capsule pack, right? Not more than that. So I have to be able to control the repeat. For a chronic ailment, if you don't have my treatment for 6 months, you're getting no result. And if you have it for 1 month, you're actually going to go back and tell 100 people that it's a bad product. So that's why we built the business as a website-focused business. When we raised our first round of capital, we were 90% D2C website. By the time we sold the business, we were 65% D2C website.
And that's a healthy number, right? And
Very large number. Very large number. But I'll caveat it with, this is 2018, 19, 20 when CAC was at 250 rupees for 800 rupee order. Those times are not available and existent today, right? So,
and so you raised your first round of capital in
June 2019.
2019.
We raised 15 CR from RP Sanjeev Goenka Group.
Wonderful.
Um,
And what was the reason for that round of capital at the time?
we were like this, but then we had reached like 100 orders a day, 120 orders a day. And we run out of that 4 crore mein se 3.2 crore was utilized already of the business, of the capital. And so you could not 2x your spend. Even if you saw the writing on the wall that there was sales. And so we knew what we needed to spend on. We needed to build a team. We needed to work on brand marketing, which we had not done. We needed to push the pedal on performance marketing. And we knew exactly where to spend the money. And so when we got the money, we were at 50 lakhs a month. The next month, we hit 1 crore a month.
Wow.
Because we knew exactly what to do. It was there, right? It was like latent demand that we had to fulfill. And then in a year and a half, we reached 8 CR a month in sales.
8 CR a month, that's 100 crore.
Yeah,
Top
but
line.
I will caveat with 2020 was COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And COVID, while it had a negative impact on most businesses, it was a really positive impact on Ayurveda plus D2C, and we are the center of both. You know, Ayurveda plus D2C, right? So,
And in that journey, I think that because that was the only round of capital, you decided also it was time to give this business a eventual exit, or what? Or how did that?
that
exit
was
happen?
the agreement when we raised the capital,
Acha.
that the business will be sold at some point. The idea was that it would happen 3, 4, 5 years later.
Okay.
But nobody expected, not even me, that the business would scale this fast. They invested in a business doing 50 lakhs a month. I also was doing 50 lakhs a month. I did not foresee also we'll grow so fast.
So scaling at 16x. And so at the time of investment, why did you choose? I mean, RPSG is more like a family office, not really a professional fund. And you had been in a professional fund before. So why choose a family office versus, I mean, at that point, 50 lakhs a month is a fantastic number. You could have got the lay of the land.
Yeah, so actually we had lots of people interested at the time. First we pitched to everyone, nobody was interested because honestly, I feel like sometimes founders blame VCs and say nobody cared and nobody saw it and all. But now that I think back, actually I was doing 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs a month and pitching to people. I was not a finished product, I was not ready yet, right? At 50 lakhs a month, we had lots of interest. I actually picked the guy who was most interested.
Acha.
Rather than the best money in terms of quantum of raise, the best valuation, I picked the guy who was most interested. And this guy, honestly, the first time I met RPSG folks, they said at 8 lakhs a month is a 500 crore opportunity. I didn't see it.
But they did.
I was at 1
And
crore.
how
Yeah.
was it different, Arjun, like raising from RPSG? Probably a little more patient capital, I would imagine, than let's say a venture capital fund who will pump you up and say keep running. And now you're obviously running a VC fund yourself. So you understand the pressures.
Sure.
How was it different? Did it actually help having someone like RPSG not trying to push you that grow at any cost, just don't look at the...
Look, I think it was not very different, maybe it was slightly different, but we agreed on a business plan and I delivered the business plan. We delivered 105% of the business plan in year 1 and then 100% of the business plan in year 2.
So who was the eventual exit to?
Them.
Them. Acha.
The idea was to sell to them.
Okay.
Once you have a strategic owning 40% of your business, nobody else is going to come in, right? People thought of coming and reached out to me. I was like, that makes sense only. Like, how does it make sense for you to come in?
Correct.
You will buy into a business that eventually they'll only acquire, right? So it doesn't make sense.
And eventually, what was that exit like? So, once you sold the business.
Yeah, look, it's a weird feeling. It's bittersweet. It's bitter because you let go of what you've been doing every day, 95% of your day. It's gone. You're going to tell your team, I'm leaving. You're still there. Brand is still there. I'm out, boss. I'm going for a vacation to Gangtok now and you'll never see my face again in this office. It was sweet because every entrepreneur wants to see an outcome. Now, that outcome is different for different people. It could be an IPO, it could be a strategic sale, it could be an exit, it could be whatever that outcome is available for an entrepreneur, right? It could be giving your team ESOP buybacks, it could be giving your investor an exit, whatever. There's some outcome, some milestone. And so I think it was sweet for that, right? Like at 29, both my wife and I, before the age of 30, were able to exit a business, were able to create wealth for ourselves, were able to become financially independent completely. So I think that was a nice feeling, but the accomplishment meant more than the money, honestly. Like I didn't change anything pretty much in my life. I bought my own house. That was a big thing, in the same building as my parents. So that was a nice achievement, accomplishment. But yeah, I went to buy a car and my dad likes cars. So he said, come, I'll take you to buy a luxury car. I bought only one car in my life till then, Hyundai Creta. I used to, first my parents had given me a Honda Jazz, but then I became an entrepreneur and my dad said, you're 25-year-old in Ayurveda industry, like nobody will take you seriously in this car. People are like, he can't even grow facial hair. Where is the CEO? Send the CEO here. So he had helped me. I had a budget of 9 lakh rupees and the car was 15 lakhs. I was looking at a Maruti Ciaz and the Hyundai showroom is right next to our building. He said, I'll pay the delta. You buy the Creta. So I bought a Creta that time, 15 lakh rupees. And I didn't know what cars were worth, right? Because I had no interest, honestly. It's not like I'm some innocent person, etc. I just had zero interest in luxury cars. I didn't ascribe any value to it because car for me is point A to point B. And I respect people who love cars. And my dad loves cars for cars, not for show, but for cars. So he said, let me take you to a luxury car showroom. And he took me to these 3-4 luxury car showrooms. And that's when I realized cars are sold for 90 lakhs and 1 CR and 1.2 CR.
2 CR.
And I didn't know that, right? So I said, hey, between that 15 lakhs and that 1 crore number, there are like 10 startup investments possible. And I ascribe value to that. Not that I have any problem with someone driving a 1 crore car, but I don't. So I went and got myself an MG EV and I was happy with it.
What I find very interesting, and before I get into this next part of your journey, because now you had to turn the table, right? You were on the other side. I find a very strong influence of family. Your grandfather, you speak very highly of him, and then obviously the relationship with your father. How important has it been that, in many ways your father inculcated and your grandfather inculcated
values.
In very strong middle class, values, right? Have big dreams, but don't forget your roots.
I'll tell you 2 stories. One, my dada was a white safari suit guy.
Acha.
He was like white shirt, that safari shirt, white pants, black shoes, same pair of glasses, 5 rupee red pen in his pocket. In Kathil, I think when we go from 4th to 5th grade, you move from pencil to pen.
Correct.
So I moved to pen and everybody around me had Uniball pens. That Uniball was a big thing when we were in school. My dada gave me a Schaefer pen. Schaefer that time was more expensive than Parker. Parker was 1,000 rupees. The Amitabh Bachchan Parker pens with his signature on it. Schaefer was 2,500, some 3,000 rupee ka pen. It came in a nice velvet box. It was a silver color pen. He gave me that pen. And he said, you'll write with this pen and it'll be amazing and for you and stuff. And I said, cool. You carry a 5 rupee red pen in your pocket every day. Why? And he said, it reminds me where I came from. And I'll never forget where I came from. And with my dad as well, I remember this was 1999. We had gone to the UK to watch the World Cup.
Acha.
I was a huge cricket fan and we had got tickets for the India-South Africa game in Brighton. And then we went to London and there was this store called Lily White's. I don't know if you've seen this store. It's in just off Leicester Square, Piccadilly Circus. At that time, it was the most premium, luxury, all wood, like beautiful staircases, luxury sports store, which we have never... In India, that time we didn't have sports stores only. You'd go to Metro and buy from those small shops and stuff, right? So, experiential sports store. And I had got a Grey Nichols cricket kit.
Acha.
Like bat, gloves, pads.
Grainicles was the thing at that time.
Grainicles was the thing. The big thing was Grainicles, and it was all made in India. But I had to buy it from there because it wasn't sold in India. And I used to play football also a little bit that time. So I'd got a pair of shoes, Nike shoes, shin guards, and that football, like a very nice football, some expensive football which you won't get in India. And then as I was leaving, I saw this Spalding basketball. And Spalding was what they used to, I don't know if they still use, but the NBA used to play with Spalding.
I think it still is. But
And school we used to play with Costco basketball. Cathedral, we have that
Correct.
only one basketball court, right? So I was not really into basketball, but we used to play in school, and also then I was like, hey, I want that ball. 20 pounds at that time, that basketball. My mom is like, you bought cricket set, football set, bus, you don't play basketball, chhod de. And we left the store, and I was like really disappointed. I remember like cribbing, saying, you didn't buy me my basketball, you didn't buy my basketball, whatever. And my dad's like, boss, you're holding 3 bags of shopping here. Clearly we bought you everything. I said, no, you didn't buy my basketball. He stopped then, and he said one thing. He said, we're turning around now. We're going to go and buy that basketball. But we can afford the basketball today, so we're going to buy that basketball. The day we can't afford the basketball, and in business that day may come.
True.
Never ever show me disappointment. And I'll buy that basketball for you. And look, my dad's an entrepreneur. He's had a very successful business. He continues to run.
What's the business he does?
It's in the jewelry and watch space.
Achha.
Called the Rose Group of Companies. It's, in our words, bootstrapped, debt-free, profitable business from day one, and continues to be. And honestly, a lot of the life that I had was because of this business. But he's had his share of ups and downs in his career as well.
As any entrepreneur would.
As any entrepreneur would, right? And in those times, I think, like, he made me realize that you have to accept those parts of the journey.
And then comes the switch, in which we were talking about right before we started, which is when you joined Verlinvest, right?
Correct.
In 2021,
Yeah.
July 2021. I think a couple of months after you exited Dr. Vaidya's, you were the venture lead for India. And I think I also remember you were a lot more active on LinkedIn after that. I kept seeing more and more video.
Time.
Yeah,
I typed on my hand.
So how did that whole relationship start?
Yeah, so look, I think when we sold Dr. Vaidya's April 2021, I had no idea what I was going to do in life. I remember we had booked a one-way ticket to London, June 2021. Trisha, after graduating Warwick, she had worked at Goldman London for 3 years. So she always had the enamor to live in London, right? And so at that time I said, like, now we have nothing.
Nothing holding us back.
No responsibility, no kids, nothing in life, and no business, nothing. Let's just take a one-way ticket to London and figure it out. And your visa allows you to stay for 90 days, then you go to Europe somewhere, come back, well, we'll see. Let's go and see how life is. Second wave hit, couldn't go to London, moved to our house in Alibag.
Achha.
Because that's the only place you could go at that time, right? And we're just figuring out what life was, etc. And I didn't know this whole world of early stage investing. I had not principally and consciously not made a single investment in any startup while I was running Dr. Vaidya's.
Oh, that's...
No, that's my view. A lot of entrepreneurs who are also founders running successful companies invest, but I thought it was too distracting. I'm also not a multitasking kind of person, right? So I remember doing DD calls for Shiprocket for 2 rounds or 3 rounds of their fundraise. And I knew there was value they were creating, but I was like, I'm not going to invest in this. I don't know how this works or not. So then we had to learn this world of investment. So we started helping founders pro bono. That led to the creation of a D2C program, which we teach a cohort-based course on D2C, now the largest in India. And then we said, okay, we have some money also. If we have some money, let's invest that money also. So we started angel investing. And through that angel investing journey, lots of funds I reached out to or reached out to me. So I just made a cold call to all the people who are actively investing in consumers saying, hey, I just want to chat and say hello. Like, because after you take money from a strategic, you don't really need to have those conversations with these people, right? And they also see no value in speaking to you. So I was not so well connected in this VC ecosystem and world. And then I met all of the funds and I had a chat with Arjun, who ran the private equity business for Verlinvest in India. And it was a general call, which got rescheduled a couple of times. And honestly, there was no agenda, right? So it was not top of mind for him or for me. It was just a general chat. And he said, look, your vibe matches our vibe. We're thinking of launching a VC business with an ex-founder who's built and sold a consumer business below the age of 40, who still wants to work in life. So that fits what you are right now. Are you open? So I've not thought about it. I never thought I'll get into VC, but I'm open. I'm happy to have a conversation. It looks like an interesting thing. So in July, August 21, we started a pilot saying, let's get to know each other. Let's figure it out. 6 months we spent figuring out what's the model, where should we invest, how should we do it. September, I started going to the office as well. And then they invited me to the offsite in Spain in October 21.
Acha.
That's eventually when we did our 1 month in London. 3 weeks before the offsite and 1 week after, and realized it's not for us. Love London, but home is here. And then after I spent time with their offsite, actually I realized there's a great group of people who are really genuinely want to do this and really care about.
And it's Verlinvest is actually one family, is what you were saying.
It's a single family's capital,
Acha.
but it's run like a fund.
Okay.
That single family, which is the
What's
family
their main
that owns,
business?
they own AB InBev,
Okay.
which is the largest beer company in the world. So Stella
This is the 3G
Artois,
capital guys or
the Belgians,
the Belgians? Acha,
the
one-
Anheuser-Busch people,
Okay.
not the.
Not the guys who bought that business.
There's 3 parts to it. There's InBev, which is the Brazilian business,
Mm-hmm.
3G Capital, and Anheuser-Busch, and then eventually all of those came together to create the entity AB InBev. But they're the creators of Stella Artois, creators of Hoegaarden, so the oldest beer family probably in the world. And so they created this vehicle to invest in beverages outside of beer. Eventually went into food and beverage, and now does all of consumer and retail. But 25 years ago, they started as a VC fund. The AUM increased such that they became a growth stage PE fund. But then they couldn't do VC anymore. And so they decided to create a sub-vehicle called V3 Ventures to do VC. So we have 3 separate funds, India, US and Europe.
Okay.
Each of us invest in our own geographies, and each fund is run by an ex-founder who's the GP in the fund.
And meanwhile, they've also had some really good exits here, right? I think they were part of Sula.
Yeah.
And I think
Very large shareholder of Sula.
Yeah.
Actually, majority shareholder of Sula at the IPO time.
And they sold almost 400 crores worth of shares.
Yeah.
8.34% stake.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
that was just the last
last transaction.
share-
Yeah.
last transaction. Yeah. So if I'm not wrong, at IPO we had 50% of the business, pre-IPO.
Wow.
Of the business. Yeah.
And so are you advising them also on the exits part, or how does this relationship work?
The relationship works that we work out of the same office.
Okay.
We have a weekly call where we share pipeline, they share pipeline. Especially in healthcare, because I've done that business before, I do help out on those things. And we openly share our views on things. So there's a company called Lahori Jeera Soda that we invested in.
Acha.
It's a 10 rupee, 12 rupee Jeera Soda business based out of Punjab. I was very gung-ho for that company because I know the depth of mass premium FMCG. And so I remember being on those calls where they were deliberating. Obviously, I wasn't involved in the investment decision, but I really liked the company and what they were doing. And so we have the relationship where we are sort of a sister concern in some way, shape or form. We share the same parent entity and we work very closely together.
How big is your team at V3?
3.
3 people. That's you.
Me, we have a VP
Acha.
and an associate.
And how does the decision-making framework work over there?
We have an IC,
Acha.
which largely consists of the senior leaders at Verlinvest. And they make...
And usually the check sizes are and how
we write
follow on?
4 to 30 crore checks.
Okay. First round or over a period of time?
Well, it could be first round, it could be... So we do from seed to Series A.
Okay.
So we could put 4 crore and then top up to get to 30, 40 crore exposure in the company. We could also we're currently doing a Series A investment where we're putting 25 crore in the company as well.
Wonderful.
So that entire journey from seed to Series A.
And is there like a fixed amount of capital that you're working with, or is
Right
it
now we have $35 million that we're investing out of.
for?
We'll be done with it
Acha.
sometime this year, hopefully.
Wonderful. Wow. And so what's next for this for you now? Like you're going to get done with this. Do you continue down this journey even further?
Yeah, hopefully we complete the fund and then we go ahead and do more because the fund globally is very excited about the India opportunity.
Acha.
They're very excited by everything I say about India, and I'm very passionate about India. So
But it comes out very clearly.
I keep saying, I keep talking about India and the India opportunity, and considering what's happening in the West as well, I think everybody's bullish about India. We've invited our global leaders from Brussels, from London, from New York to come to India, and they've really seen the positivity, enthusiasm, optimism, animal spirits, and depth of the consumer opportunity. Like I remember we had the fund launch for V3 end of 2022.
Acha.
And they had an event for Verlinvest the night before, more formal event, big companies, senior leaders, and very different kind of setting, which you would have in a private equity fund. And the next day, our entire executive committee was here. And the next day, I booked out a restaurant, O Pedro. And I said, we're going to have a more casual drinks and dinner kind of event. And they said, who's coming? I was like, 80 consumer founders will be there. And it'll be a small gathering, etc. All of them. They were like, oh yeah, okay, he's saying 80 founders, let's see. And there are 80 early stage consumer founders and 10 global investors who represent foreign capital have a lot of capital. Each of them, after like 2.5 hours, were like, we need to get out of this place. Like, because as an Indian early stage entrepreneur, you see someone with capital, you go and pitch. So they were like, basically, we got pitched by like every single person in this room.
I'm
about
losing my
our
ability
business.
not to say no. But very interesting investments, right? Eka Care, Entry, Kuku FM, these are all V3.
Correct.
So what's the framework? How are you? What are you looking for in founders?
So we do consumer tech brands and platforms. We have done in the tech space, Eka Care, Kuku FM, Entry. We have done an ice cream called Go Zero.
Okay.
We have done a unique cloud kitchen model, a ghost kitchen type model called Dil Foods. We're in the process of closing 3 more deals. One in a cakes and desserts QSR business. Again, central kitchen, spoke kitchen model. We're doing a budget hospitality chain, backpacker hostels. We're doing a sneakers business. Across the landscape of consumer, both tech and platforms, with a reasonably strong focus on the mass premium consumer opportunity, the middle class consumption, aspirational middle class consumption opportunity.
And besides the money, what else are you telling the founder that you can provide?
We have 3 things actually. One, my experience as a founder, I've done at least consumer brand. I can't maybe add as much value in tech, but that ecosystem, community, knowledge base. 2, we have access to one of the strongest consumer investing private equity teams in India, right? Verlinvest has done Sula, Viba, Epigamia, Purple, Wakefit, Lahori, Heads Up for Tails, 49, which is an IVF buyout. That's just, I'm just talking about India.
Okay.
And then we have the third thing, which is a global team representing some of the best consumer brands in the world. Lazada, Vitamin Water, Vita Coco, Oatly, Pop Chips, Chewy. And so these 3 things are sort of the value that we add. And ancillary would be access to more capital, right? Because if a company does well in our gamut or our world, then Verlinvest will be looking at it.
And so your this 35 million is going to be over a portfolio of how many companies?
12 companies.
12 companies altogether. Okay.
Investable capital maybe 30 million.
Okay. And now let's talk about the future. So obviously this fund ends. You're hoping to get another fund together. Will you be taking out outside capital or will be still?
For now, no, I don't think.
Okay. According to you, now that the world is changing very quickly in India, right? And now that you start looking at Blinkit and all these platforms taking off and becoming profitable, I think the offline play is going through a significant shift all of a sudden, right? It's no longer about finding the super stockists. Now it's like go get Blinkit. If you can get Blinkit, you can.
See, I think that we underestimate the power of quick commerce. Quick commerce is not just groceries and essentials. It's a lot of other products as well, right? Which makes it very, very interesting as an opportunity. And 30% of quick commerce sales today is outside of food, grocery, essentials, which is...
In fact, I was doing an interview with CNBC. I said, let's not call it quick commerce because quick commerce is supposed to be less than 10 minutes. Let's call it convenience commerce because now that's where we are at.
Yeah.
Right?
Zepto today was 42 minutes. Because of high demand.
Yeah, even I think Blinkit is about 35. I've never had Blinkit come to me below 30 minutes these days. So it is
high demand now.
High demand, yeah.
But 92% of retail in India is still offline.
Yeah.
And that number may come down to 85 in the next 10 years, but it's still 85.
Correct.
And so at some point online will tap out. It's 100, 200, 300 crores.
I still don't consider this C-commerce or Q-commerce to be an online play. Because you need to have these dark stores. It's very much an offline play with an online...
We will see massive proliferation of both e-commerce and whatever, C-commerce, Q-commerce, whatever you call it. But I think there is still a lot of depth in GT and offline, and I think it takes a different skill set. And I didn't have that skill set. Yeah. Doing offline distribution to Kirana retail is just a different ballgame.
It also requires a whole amount of, and you've done it so, and I've lost money at it. So I've always felt that to do offline, especially this whole super stockist, distributor, retailer model, A, you need lots and lots of money, right? And working capital is going to get stuck. And B, you need to spend possibly $1 billion worth of marketing to create recall.
Yeah.
If you don't have that kind of
money.
And
you need to do ATL. Yeah. Because performance marketing doesn't work for a Kirana store. You need to do the newspaper, radio, hoardings, outdoor, eventually TV. Eventually TV.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Unless you have $1 billion to spend on that, you're not going to get the kind of recall you're looking for. And how are you taking on that challenge with some of the consumer brands where you're invested? What are the advice you're giving them?
Yeah, look, I think at the stage that we invest, I always say get your one channel right before you move to another channel. It's very tempting to do 5 channels. But if you're a nobody in each of the channels, then you're pretty much a bits and pieces kind of company, right? And so even at Dr. Vaidya's, we perfected our website, then we went to Amazon.
Acha.
When we went to Amazon, I went to Amazon saying, hey, by the way, I do 1 crore a month on my website. I only 5 lakhs a month on your platform. That's when they stood up and said, oh, please, let's increase that number, right? So one channel, right, always.
Focus is the most important part here.
Yeah, because for an early stage company, you don't have resources, you don't have team, you don't have bandwidth. And so rather put it on one thing rather than 20 things.
So, Arjun, now you're like early 30s, right? In 10 years, you're pretty much going to hit the midpoint of life, right? What would you like to achieve between now and then? So as you, and where do you see the journey?
Yeah, look, I honestly, if you asked me 5 years ago, would I be sitting here having this conversation with you? And I said before we started also that I've been a fan of your LinkedIn content and following your journey since 5-6 years. I would have said maybe I don't believe in my wildest dream. It's like a batsman goes out to bat on the first day of a test match, the ball is moving, and then you're like, hey, will you be okay if you walk out with an 80 at the end of the day? I'm like, yeah, I'll be more than happy. You give me 60 also, I'm okay, right? So I don't actually view life in 5-year, 10-year horizons. Because like you can never predict what happens, and I would have never predicted I would have been here. So I look at the world I look at life in 6-month sprints. And
6-month sprints.
And like 10 6-month sprints make up 5 years and 20 make up 10 years. And so I think 10 years later, I just want to ensure I'm a good dad and I've done right to my daughter. But other than that, I don't know what life holds for me. Honestly.
And how do you plan these 6-month sprints? Like how are the goal settings?
We have both Trisha and I do personal, which is you working on yourself, family, which is immediate family, and then professional. Set up your goals and set up timelines for those goals and reassess 6 months later with that person.
Acha.
I'm accountable to my wife for my goals. She's accountable to me for her goals. And we pull each other up.
And you guys write these things down?
Yeah.
Or you write down your goals?
1st of Jan and then 1st of July.
Wow.
Yeah. And every 1st of Jan we do it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we started doing this to Dr. Vaidya's days. At that time, we used to actually make it a phone wallpaper.
Okay.
So we used to have a graphic designer graphically represent our goals and then it would be a phone wallpaper. We don't do that anymore.
I've also noticed that you've become far more active on social media, right? And I think there is definitely a thought process. You've taken some of this from Dr. Vaidya days to demystify this whole VC space, I almost feel.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Could you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, I think that, let's say I have a portfolio company called Dil Foods. They were on Shark Tank recently. Their Shark Tank pitch was very good. I would say one of the best pitches in the season. I'm not biased. Actually, one of the best pitches. 2.3 million views for that Shark Tank pitch. My LinkedIn post about their Shark Tank pitch and my thesis of investing got 500,000 views.
Wow.
Or 550,000 views, something like that. No press is going to give me that. Nobody's reading. Not 1 lakh people, 5 lakh people are not reading Live Mint articles. So clearly the world is changing. Our job as VCs is to be top of mind recall in the founder ecosystem. And so I build thesis on Instagram.
Acha.
My sneakers business, which I'm just going to invest in, I built a thesis on mass premium sneakers, put it on Instagram. That thesis got 100,000 views. 20 sneaker companies reached out to me. I spoke to them and I found this company out of them.
Interesting. So you
and the guy who we're investing in, after I said I want to invest in you, I went, saw his factory, assessed the business, etc. He said, okay, how much you want to invest? I said 6 crores. He said, aap batao kaise karna? I said 6 crores, 16.7%. He said, okay, paisa wapas kab dena hai? So he didn't even know what is equity, right? And this entrepreneur would probably never reach out to a VC, and a VC would never find this entrepreneur.
And so how are you structuring these posts?
So I put them on LinkedIn, normal thesis building posts that we do, and then I make an Instagram reel out of it.
Very interesting. And do you have a team that supports you?
That shoots the videos and edits the videos, yes, but the content is all mine.
And that's part of the Verlinvest ecosystem as well?
No, I do it on my own.
That's amazing.
It just helps my work, so we do it. I was actually presenting to our board and I said that, hey, by the way, our thesis pieces over the last 8 months have got 15 million views. Our thesis pieces. A mass premium coffee thesis, our sports thesis.
And these are just posts on LinkedIn, or are you posting them on your blog or some sort of a website and then just pure LinkedIn?
That is how powerful social is today. Just on LinkedIn and on my Instagram. That's all.
So Arjun, I'm sure if I could, I would keep you here for another couple of hours. But it's been a fantastic conversation. I'm so thankful that and grateful that you've really been open about your whole journey, and I really enjoyed the very strong family connect. I think everything else set apart, and it's been an incredible journey for you, and the 15 million views and everything being said, I really like the hardcore, middle class Gujarati family ideals that came through this conversation, and I really hope that whatever you're trying to achieve, that through these next 20 sprints, you really do. And maybe after every 2 sprints, we can have you back and talk about the
Absolutely.
But that being said, as you know, tradition on Damani Talks is the last part you have to make it through.
Excited.
Is rapid fire, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you, I have somehow about 20 questions. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to ask all of them, but I'll ask you a bunch of questions. Whatever first comes to mind, just blurt it out. And I'm sure we'll learn something along the way, and we can get a little bit deeper into one of these answers. So first question is, what is the last book you read that had a profound impact on you?
I would say not book. The last documentary I watched was a documentary on Netflix called Turning Point, The Bomb in the Cold War.
Okay.
It's the best Cold War. I'm a history buff. I studied politics in college. The best documentary on the Cold War I've ever seen, the impact of the atomic bomb on the way the world was shaped from 1945 to 2022. So it started from 1945, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, until Ukraine. And I mean, for me, very interesting to see
Turning
the
point.
way the world, turning point, the bomb in the
We'll
Cold
put the
War.
link in the comments below. Let me ask you another question. And since you were an entrepreneur, now a founder as well, work-life balance is possible, myth or reality?
It's what you make of it. Not possible for me.
For entrepreneurs?
Possible for someone who can say no a lot and really, really good at prioritization. But I'm not that kind of person.
Okay. What's the first action you undertake after waking up? As soon as you open your eyes.
Open my eyes. Now it's after my kid is woken up. So I quickly go and brush my teeth and find her.
If you had not been in the D2C space, right, or the VC, right, what would you have been doing?
Back-end team of Mumbai Indians.
Back-end team of Mumbai.
Data analyst.
Founder.
Fitness coach, something like that. Or any sports team. But I love Mumbai Indians, so I said that.
Who's your favorite superhero?
Batman. No, Spider-Man.
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 Why Spider-Man? Very rare answer, by the way. Mostly it's Batman. It's been
No,
Superman.
I said Batman because I rewatched one of the movies recently, but Spider-Man, you have that affinity, right? Once you get a Rakhi with Spider-Man and then it just clicks and it stays with you, and yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about work from home. What do you think about that? Is it
Relevant for that time.
Hmm.
Relevant for that time. No.
Yeah.
It doesn't replicate the serendipity of ideas, the collaboration, etc. So not for me.
One question you wish investors would ask more often from founders.
Why are you building this business?
Okay.
What's your purpose behind doing this? Because I think numbers, trends, market, what's hot, what's not, all of that's fine. But something that's hot today is not tomorrow.
Correct.
And the founders got to still stick through that time, right? So why are you doing it?
What's that passion or the fire that's going to keep you going? Interesting. One thing about the Indian startup ecosystem or venture capital ecosystem, whichever way you would like to go for it, that you wish you could change?
FOMO.
FOMO. Well,
it's crazy, right?
It's nuts. Yeah.
Stuff just gets broadcasted on WhatsApp, Chinese whispers. That company is not doing 1 crore a month, it's doing 1 crore a day.
Cine Blitz for the Indian VC ecosystem, trust me. It would outsell Bollywood
now it
magazines.
exists, right? Ken and Morning Context and...
There was actually a very good, I forget which, there used to be one journalist who used to write anonymous stories.
Okay.
About the VC ecosystem. I think it used to happen during COVID. I don't know what happened to that blog. I don't even remember which platform it was on. But they used to always have, oh, I've heard this somewhere. Right? You're like, ye kaun ho sakta hai? Okay. What's one app you're completely obsessed with at the moment?
WhatsApp. Always. It's always open.
I wish we could do so many more things on WhatsApp. I think this whole meta ecosystem needs to align into one.
Yeah.
Let's see. what prime tool or strategy are you using for managing deal flow?
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. Is that where you're getting deals? Okay, let me ask you another question. Founder wants to come and meet you, right? What are the 5 things that this founder should be prepared to answer because it's going to happen in the first meeting?
Yeah, I would say, I said, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
What's your right to win?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can do any business, any opportunity, but why will you win in that space? Is there a market large enough? In consumer products, you always see, you see a lot of businesses that are great products. You know, at times I say, and I know founders hate it when VC said, I'll be a customer, but I can't be your investor.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just not venture scalable, or it may not need the capital. And then I guess today 2 things we focus on is contribution margin and repeat rate. So I think these 5 things.
Contribution margin and repeat rate. And you're talking CM3, I'm guessing.
2, 3, that is fungible, but basically everything, all your marketing costs are over, and then only head office cost is below that.
Perfect.
It's 2, 3, 4, people call it anything now.
So you're obviously you're in your 30s now, but if you had a chance, let's say, to go back to when you were 18, and you could give one piece of advice to that 18-year-old self of yours,
Yeah.
what would that be?
Don't be lazy, take that computer science class. I was going to take it, and then I thought it was too much hard work and I didn't take it.
And how do you think that would have changed? Because obviously,
I think I would have been sharper about website development, tech, those kind of things. I mean,
you can learn them even today.
You can, but at the time you're an entrepreneur, you can't say I'm going to learn coding on the side now, right? It's not happening.
What do you think is a most underrated trait in an entrepreneur?
Resilience.
How do you test for it?
You can't test for it upfront, right? Because you can put an entrepreneur through various situations and have various meetings, but you don't know. But I think that's the one thing. Like, there is going to be a down. There is no up forever for any company, right? And
that's true.
In that down, when the back is against the wall, how do you fight? With a smile on your face.
Which Indian startup do you wish you had invested in?
Zepto.
Zepto.
I had a chance.
Did you?
Seed round. Kirana cart.
Yeah.
Didn't see it.
I think I got that deck too, and I
didn't see it.
No, I saw it.
No, I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it. Yeah. But I didn't see it becoming what it is.
I actually thought this was not going to work, quite honestly. But hats off to the guys. Hats off to Aditya and his team. Let's see. Couple of questions. It is said that investment is a mix of art and science. Do you agree?
Yeah. Science, I guess. I hope that people know we do some science. But art is like, I was chatting with our private equity colleague, and he's like, okay, so the valuation of this company is 50 crore. I was like, yeah. He's like, how do you come up with that number? I was like, sales to nahi hai, to arbitrary hai.
Okay.
So there is some art towards sort of guesstimation, forward calculation, comeback.
Also, some of that intuition that you need to look at the entrepreneur. Sometimes I think because you're an entrepreneur, and it's a very rare trait, by the way, because entrepreneurs turned VCs, I think have a bit of an edge over pure finance people becoming VCs, because I think you can sort of sense that entrepreneurial trait a little better because you've been through that.
Correct.
You know, like you said, coming down to your 80 lakhs and then to build it back makes a big difference. All right, last question for you. How would you measure your life?
Oh, I'm a great fan of the journey, honestly. So I measure it as experiences that are good and bad and got me to where I am today. And I'm not a finished product, I'm a work in progress. So we'll see where we go from here.
Wonderful. Fantastic answers, right? Thank you so much, Arjun. It's been a great conversation.
My pleasure.
And I really, I mean, besides the journey that obviously I knew because it's you're quite a famous personality, but I think besides the journey, but getting to know the man behind all of it, that has really been an eye opener today. And thank you so much for making it on a Sunday.
My pleasure.
And any last piece of advice you would like to give to the founders and the LPs and the investors who are listening in?
Yeah, I think the best time to start is now, and the best way to start is to start. So.
Wonderful.
India is shining, let's make it happen.
Yeah, that's true. India is shining. Let's not say that again because that
one didn't work out. Yeah, that one didn't work out.
That one did not work out, and I think there's some taboo to that. But that getting said, thank you so much, Arjun.
My pleasure.
It really has been a fantastic conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.